morning. Good morning. It's Monday. Using our sense of the world to make sense of the world. World peace through individual strength. Waking your worlds up physically, mentally, spiritually, and then physically again. Why? Well, obviously to feel better. Objectively. Well, how's that even possible? I guess through the help of your only no-nonsense podcast through the Best Feeling Network, and through the help of your own body, through the inside out, from the inside out. My name is Herbie. Good morning. Better than your morning would. Feel without. Good morning, another Mover Monday. This is Pagawai. Welcome back to another Mover Monday. It is 6:30 a.m. in the morning on August 9, 2021. Monday, August 9, 2021. Thank you for that host, Herbie Like. Today we'll be discussing soft focus again, but in more depth and more clarity. Why? To make you feel so good from the inside out. So I hope you stay tuned. Hope you join me to feel so good from the inside out with like a little bit of guided meditation. A little bit of feeling good in that body of yours. Feeling amazing. Way to supercharge that week. So we'll see you right here, right back in a little bit. Whatever you are doing, good morning! Get your ass up! Have a great week! Let's go! You mover, you! We are movers, let's go! Good morning. Wherever you are. Whenever you are, wherever you are, whenever you are, whenever thou art. Good morning or good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I hope you're feeling fantastic. Are you ready to stretch your self-awareness like a muscle? Remember to allow all of these words to enter one ear and then out the other. As you are extracting the meaning, you godlike creature, you window to that godlike experience, you. Whatever you are doing, what are you up to? Are you just kicking off the sheets in the morning? Or are you driving a car? Are you walking? Are you doing something you should be doing, or are you doing something you shouldn't be doing? Are you perhaps lonely right now? Do you perhaps just need sound to keep you company right now? Do you need a real voice? In the year 2021, do you just need a real voice to talk to right now? Is it hard to understand what to look at, what to focus on? Is the world distracting you in so many different ways? Are you okay? What you up to? Are you brushing your teeth? Are you about to go brush your teeth? Have you ever think about when you think about doing these things, you know? We do a lot of these things on the outwards. On the outward, like our bodies like manifest these actions, like we want to go to the bathroom, we want to go brush our teeth, we want to eat. Our bodies do a lot of those things outwardly, but how often do we spend to think about when we think about doing those things? We talk a lot about wanting to correct our actions as a community, but how much of the talk actually goes into discussing when those things happen? How do you go about changing something you can't focus on? You can't look at, you don't understand. When we are doing things in our lives, how self-aware are we? As we are stretching our self-awareness like a muscle, oftentimes there's a lot more information when we look very gently with a soft focus. As in when we aren't looking to scrutinize what we're doing, when we're not looking too sharply at what we're doing. Sometimes there's a lot more bodily human information about ourselves from not doing much, from software focusing on what we are doing, from not hyper beaming and laser focusing our focus on this thing, maybe a behavior pattern that we're unsatisfied with. But oftentimes, don't we get a lot more information from these behavior patterns themselves by using a softer lens of focus? For example, if you're going to go brush your teeth, a softer lens of focus would be, okay, you know you're about to go brush your teeth. Don't do it yet. Just think about it. Just think about this feeling. Feel this feeling that causes you to do that. Don't do it. In fact, bring that human awareness, that self-awareness, bring it more and more closer to you and less away from doing that actual thing. And what do we find? Are we able to look at ourselves a little bit more objectively? As we're feeling so good on the inside out, from the inside out. Soft focus often gives us a lot more information on our bodies than we'd like to admit. For example, if you are compelled to move right now, are you getting ready to do your day? Are you getting ready to go to work? Are you getting ready to do some school? Are you looking around at the room right now? If you bring your attention closer and closer to what you're doing, what are you feeling that's causing you to look at the room? Why aren't your eyes closed? There are infinite things that you, your mover body, you amazing mover creature, you can do, right? You are made for movement. As human beings, we are all made for movement. From breathing to running to singing to speaking to loving. We are made for movement in a physical way as well as a metaphysical way. We are designed for movement. We are designed for movement. Not just physically, but metaphysically as well. So what causes us to move? What causes us to do the certain things that we do? What causes us to look around at the room and not kick off our sheets right now and just go do your thing? What causes you to not go and just gargle that water right now and just wake up? What causes that barrier from movement? Sometimes a too intensive a focus can limit your ability from seeing what's actually going on, as you're too focused on what itself, the objective act of it, and not the human thing inside of you that's causing that to happen. And so you can reverse engineer a lot of these problems, right? Today we're going to talk about soft focusing. A little bit more about soft focusing, how to do it, why to do it, when to do it. Soft focus, as in your eyes, right? When you're looking at something, you can choose to either hard focus on it, look at all the detail oriented, or you can soft focus and let it blend into the entire background of your vision, right? And can't you do this with all of your senses, right? We are able to bring attention sharply to a specific part on our body if it gets damaged. Let's say like we get a knife into our hand. We're able to specifically bring attention to the knife. If there's a knife in your hand, you're specifically able to hard focus on this attention to this specific wound you might have. We oftentimes will sharp focus on these wounds because they affect us so. But can't we also soft focus our own kinesthetic reality so that this injury may have some hope of being reintegrated back into the entire body? A softer focus in which we are becoming more aware of all of the things at once, as opposed to the individual parts and their details itself. A softer focus, right? Allowing the sense in question to blur. We oftentimes will get more information. For another example, when you're driving through traffic, you're not often laser focused on one specific point on the road in which you're trying to bring your car towards, but rather a softer focus, not completely soft to the point where the entire road is completely flat to you, a flat image and nothing is discernible and you end up crashing, but a softer focus, instead of looking at the dirt on the license plate, rather a softer focus of looking the entire pattern of the car's motions in front of you so you can understand where you should be going, how you should weave through this traffic. A softer focus. And so, can we also apply a softer focus to our body and learn a little bit more? Oh, I'm smoking again. Well, softer focus on it. In a literal sense and a metaphorical sense. Like, chill out, don't judge yourself. But also a softer focus, as in what is actually happening. Are you going to smoke that cigarette, or are you anxious right now? Things that we do to help us recover from what we're dealing with oftentimes mar what our actual problem is. An example of this might be when people speak quickly or will try to cover their words when they're feeling anxious, or they feel that they're insecure about the answer they gave. Oftentimes we simply do in order to cover up larger discomforts. So how many of the things that we do in our lives are we doing to quelch larger discomforts that we're just unaware of because we're too busy hard focusing on the actual act of us recovering and not what we're actually trying to recover from? If we look at our body with a softer focus, both in spirit and in function, as in both by giving yourself more grace and being softer on oneself, but also a physical, softer experience of awareness. When we softer focus our awareness on behavior patterns that either we like or dislike, don't we oftentimes get more information by drawing inwards, drawing towards stillness, drawing towards a softer focus to see patterns that perhaps the acts are simply implying a deeper meaning. A softer focus on our own body. Another example of this might be when we're doing breathing exercises. What I always say, as we're about to go on a break, as I always say, is don't think about exhaling or inhaling. Those are almost like, in this example, those are great examples of hard focusing. When you're breathing, you don't want to focus on the air itself, but rather the movement of the body, as the air itself will travel to the proper channels should the body be moving properly. Why would we hard focus on breathing? I mean, is it hard to believe? Notice how many things are associated with a breath: laughing, crying, speaking, enjoyment, a gasp, even becoming aware of the world is heavily related to a breath, since we see it in a gasp. And isn't that so important to be able to get a full gasp, such that your body can completely experience that moment, as a breath is so important? So is it any wonder that we hard focus on breathing, when breathing itself, audibly, visually, physically, situationally, breathing is so related to moments in our lives which we value? Moments in which we need to breathe properly, which are the moments which we value the most, right? Moments in which we are most excited, our hearts racing, moments in which we experience the deepest love, moments in which we feel the deepest sense of generosity, moments in which we feel the most excited. We notice on the outside often gets associated with a breath, a giggle, cry, all things associated with a breath, right? So is it a wonder that we hard focus on breathing, thinking that, okay, if I can control it, the inhale, control it, the exhale, control it, the inhale, control it, the exhale. Is there any wonder why we hard focused? As humans are such fearful beings, right? We always thinking about how to get and maintain our best moment. For better or for worse. So we see breathing as this very important thing, as it's related to all of the most important moments in life. Excitement, sadness, fear, love. All things related to breathing. So is there any wonder why we hard focused on breathing, thinking we could reverse engineer ourselves out of sadness, out of moments in which we could not experience greatness? Is there any wonder why we hard focus on breathing? But isn't there a lot of benefit to soft focusing on breathing? As our body is an entire machine, and how are you going to hard focus on the mechanisms, the machinations of an entire machine all in one sitting, all in one simple, repeatable sentence so that you can quote unquote meditate on it? How could you do that with a hard focus on many different parts of the body, as many different parts of the body are involved in making a simple, complete, unique breath? Invaluable breath, satisfactory breath. So how do we soft focus our breath, and how do we reap the benefits of it? Well, one, let's not focus on the breath, right? Simply keeping it in your awareness but not focusing on it draws you closer to an idea of a softer focus on one's own kinesthesia or proprioception, just the feelings of oneself, the senses of oneself, our sixth sense, our sense of self. How do we achieve this softer focus for something on the kinesthetic sense, on something on the kinesthetic level? Well, we affect our breathing without focusing on the breathing, the air traveling itself, but rather the movement of the bodies. The movement of the body, in which you incidentally will become aware of the air. But we want to be careful for our purposes to gather some information about ourselves. When you feel like you're in the mood to gather some information about yourself, the best method is to go slowly and to soften your focus on your body, as that will draw as much of your body into your awareness as possible, as it's impossible to hard focus by looking at the air that you're trying to draw in, as there are too many machinations, too many things, and too many seemingly uninvolved muscle groups that are involved with the idea of breathing. And so this idea of softer focus is integrated into our body's design of breathing itself. So if you would, with me, feel so good on the inside out, would you please join me? Hey, pretend that there's a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out. About yay far, about an inch or two. A candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out. And to leave your swallowing muscles alone as you do so. And just to observe your sense of self as this happens. Again, I'm hoping that you please pretend there's a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out. And to leave your swallowing muscles alone to think about breathing in and out. Remember this soft focus, right? You are breathing, you aren't breathing in and out. Give your body permission to simply let go of that idea. Focusing on the breath, you don't need to try to exhale, inhale. But simply pretend there's a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out. And the idea of that will guide you. Your body is so strong. Your entire body is a brain. Your entire body is a machine. Your entire body is an entire beautiful machine, which has faithfully recorded all sorts of moments in your life. Every moment in your life is faithfully recorded into your body, into your kinesthesia, your muscle memories, your muscle restrictions, the barriers that you have in your life, access to motion, your past, present, future, at different sites on your body, at different levels of consciousness, in different conditions, associated with different things like survival, feeling, emotion, altering your reality even, all things logged in your body faithfully. Simply just waiting to be accepted, simply waiting to be given permission to be integrated. As we are soft focusing on our breathing, not thinking about breathing in or out, but simply pretending there's a candle in front of the lips that you're trying to not put out. And to leave your swallowing muscles alone. And just observe your sense of self. A softer focus on the breathing. Don't think about breathing in or out, but rather the feeling on the candle in front of the lips that you're trying to not put out. And to leave your swallowing muscles alone. Just think about the movement and the feeling of your body. Don't think about the air that's going in or out. Just think about the movement, this candle flickering there in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out. That is an action your body is trying to participate in. And yet, is it really? As you leave your swallowing muscles alone and observing our sense of self. And allowing our rich body's awareness and rich body's, really, it's physical. It's basically a physical manifestation of imagination itself, as imagination is a component of your physical body. As the entire world is almost imagined, is it not? As you are taking it in, your brain, your body-like itself, projecting images of this world on the inside of your body so you can understand it. Harder to see with a hard focus. But should we soft focus on our body? Should we allow the entire body to be entered to the awareness by soft focusing instead of hard focusing on specific components? By allowing the entire body to participate in your experience for once. Do we get benefits out of breathing now that our whole body is involved? As we pretend that there's a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out, and to leave your swallowing muscles alone and to observe your sense of self as it accommodates for this reality that you are integrating into your brain. Does it not tickle the proper channels to get your body relaxing in the way that it needs to? As you're pretending that there's a candle in front of the lips, a lit candle, don't think about pushing it out, don't think about pulling it out, don't think about breathing in, don't think about breathing out, but a lit candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out, and to leave your swallowing muscles alone. With a softer focus, do we not integrate a different kind of truth? A different kind of knowing? Are we able to know a different kind of thing about ourselves? Are we able to sit in the moment, integrate more of the moment by soft focusing? Do we not get more information sometimes by soft focusing? Perhaps to see our intentions. Why am I sitting here? Why am I continuing this feeling? Do I need this feeling? Does it feel like I'm participating in mundane talk? Or does it feel like there's valued focus here? Just observe it, don't judge. Never, 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 never judge yourself. Just observe. As is always the principle for all body mapping, kinesthetic experiences, or any kind of integrated awareness, anything the power go on. But simply observe. To be life-loving is simply to observe. Things are already happening. The best we can do is discover. The most we want is to discover. As in, what does it feel like to sit here? What does it feel like to soften your blur, or soften your stare, and look at life with a little bit more blurred focus? Sometimes it gives more useful information. How does that vibe with you? As in, what are your intentions? Whether you are kicking your blanket off or you've done that a while ago. Maybe you're cooking breakfast now. Maybe you're cooking dinner. If we were pretending with me that there's a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out, and to leave your swallowing muscles alone, are you able to separate what you're doing from your intentions? With a softer focus, are we able to separate more from what we're doing from our intentions? As in, what does it feel like is pushing us to do those things? What does it feel like? What is causing us? And how do we feel that? I'll be right back. Pretend that there's a candle in front of the lips that you're trying to not put out. And leave your swallowing muscles alone. We'll be back with more soft focus. Are you ready to stretch your self-awareness like a muscle now? Are you ready to feel so good from the inside out? Are you ready to pretend that there's a candle in front of the lips that you're trying to not put out? With me in your first podcast in 3D, are you pretending that there's a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out? And to leave your swallowing muscles alone as you do so? Are you observing your sense of self as you remember that the weight-bearing portion of the spine is the front? And always deliver into the rainbow arches, delivering your weight equally into these rainbow arches, which are your pelvis bone, into your pelvis bone. No, your weight does not get delivered into your tailbone when you sit down. Look at how many nerves would get crushed while you're doing that. And how does your sense of self feel when you remind yourself that you do not in fact sit on your legs, but your legs jet out of your pelvis bone? How do you feel about that? Using our sense of the world to make sense of the world. World peace through individual strength. Individual inner peace. Inner world peace. Waking your worlds up mentally, spiritually, physically. And then physically again. Why? To feel better in that amazing window to a godlike experience that you are. That vessel of yours, to feel objectively better. How is that even possible? Through you, from the inside out, with the help of your host Herbie and your Only No Nonsense podcast every morning, 5:30 or around that time, Pacific Standard Time. Soft focus, more soft focus. Why? Why does it matter that we're soft focusing? Why does it matter to me that I soft focus? Well, it allows actual change. If there's change that you might be looking for. If not change, just exploration. And of course, with the experience with body mapping itself, we're always valuing discovery, we're always valuing discovery over performance. In your own body, it's so much more important to be discovering rather than to be measuring about performance. As performance is some kind of outside measurement, which we measure to some outside reality. It's not us. But discovery is more truthful, actually closer to what's actually happening, which is that we are always able to move in the ways we are able to move currently at the moment. But there's also potential, untapped potential in all of these barriers that exist within our own body that are hard to see without soft focusing. What do you mean barriers, Herbie? Why would I want softer focus, and what do you mean by barriers? You would only want softer focus if you're thinking about observing yourself, but when should you not be observing yourself? When you don't want something better for yourself, but don't you always want something better for yourself? Why should we look at our bodies and our experiences with a softer focus? When we are feeling like When we're feeling like you want to deal with some issue with yourself, don't we feel like there's actual barriers to change? Do people ever really change is something that we think about, right? It's a common trope in society. Do people really change? Do people really change? With hard focus, maybe not, as it's always reaching outwards, this hard focus, right? You're always reaching outwards towards trying to change yourself, trying to be something, always trying to performatively be different. However, isn't there change in simply the way that you're going about your relationship with yourself? With soft focus, are we not able to actually change, as you might be able to identify the actual physical and metaphysical parts of your experience which are encouraging behavior that you're not excited about or that you want to change? Of course, we would see change as an impossibility when we saw movement in our body as an impossibility of changing intentionally as well. When we see our bodies as masters of ourselves and that we are simply being taken on a ride. Oh, I'm going to smoke now. I'm going to eat now. I'm going to watch TV now. Being taken on a ride instead of observing what impulses within the body physically actually motivate you, motivate the locomotion of your body to get those things. To watch that show, to eat that food, to smoke that cigarette. Of course, we would never think that you could change if we never saw any way to monitor what was actually encouraging that behavior. However, if we soft focus, are we not able to draw the actual intention of the body more into focus somehow? That which is usually out of focus, can we bring into focus by softer focusing? The intentionalities behind the actions in our lives. No wonder we feel like we can't change, because we're looking at the outside we're looking at the outside manifestations, first of all, of behavior in the inside that we don't like. We're looking at the performed actions on the outside world, the physical world, that manifest, and say, of course you can't change, because look at these same things that are happening in the world that you're doing, and it's still happening. As we were always being taken on a ride, of course we always felt like people couldn't change, as what was in our focus was the actual events which don't experience any change anyway. They're just outward reflections of an inner world that's constantly changing. These outward manifestations are not actual. They're not actual parts of the human spirit that you can actually affect or examine. So of course we would think that nobody can change, because we were focused on the parts that don't change, objective outward manifestations of things. When someone opens a door, it's just objective, right? It's not a good or bad thing. It depends on the situation. When someone gets good grades, I mean, how good are those grades anyway? It depends on the person, right? It depends on, maybe they were failing the entire way and then now they get a C. Isn't that a reason to celebrate for that person? To some respect. As we're looking at these, as we're hard focusing on these outward manifestations of the human experience, are we not taking out of focus what can be in focus with a softer focus? With a softer focus, do we not bring into attention some things that are usually out of focus? And so we always thought that humans can't change. We always thought people don't change. We always thought that we ourselves couldn't change, as our behavior patterns never changed, right? We're the only ones seeing all those things. Oh, I keep doing all these things. I keep messing up. As if to talk to ourselves like that wasn't punishment enough. As if getting yourself down about those things was not enough. We choose to hard focus on the things that were being done, as opposed to softer focus and bringing into attention the actual reason why those behaviors were being done. The actual reasons behind why they were going to smoke that cigarette. The actual reason behind why they couldn't get out of bed. The actual reason why they had a hard time going to that party. Do we not bring those into focus? As the reasons are usually out of focus, so do we not flip it on its head Bringing into focus that which is out of focus by using a softer focus. As in, would you please pretend with me that there's a candle in front of the lips that you're trying to not put out? And to leave your swallowing muscles alone and always go slow, slow, slow as we observe our sense of self. Again, would you pretend with me and bring your whole body into a soft focus as you're not thinking about your body itself, but rather a moment in your body's awareness, right? Aren't there moments that we associate? Aren't there physical situations our body experiences when there's a candle in front of the lips that you're trying to not put out? And to leave your swallowing muscles alone as you do so, and to observe your sense of self. Bringing into focus that which is usually out of focus. The feelings, the emotions, the intentionalities, the intentions for survival, the intentions for changing or augmenting your reality, for altering your reality or your different view on things, different parts of your body, all brought into more awareness with a softer focus as we're looking at the reasons behind the actions that we're doing in life, right? The feelings of doubt, the feelings of love, the feelings of care, the feelings of wonder. What attracts you to these particular situations or these particular lines of work and not those? What is that feeling? What is that thing on the inside? You amazing window to a godlike experience you. What is that? Are we not able to bring that into awareness by softer focusing? And is that not more valuable? Isn't it more valuable to know more about the situation than less? If we are indeed trying to increase ability for movement, increase ability for change, increase chances for a movement, and increase chances of change. Always move slow as we're pretending that there's a candle in front of the lips that you're trying to not put out. And to leave your swallowing muscles alone as you do so. And to allow all of these words to go in one ear and out the other. Why might we use a soft focus on our body? To perhaps see where there might be barriers, to perhaps see where there might be patterns of denial, might see where there might be patterns for discovery, might see different patterns within ourselves, and be able to guide ourselves like some amazing video game, some amazing wizard caster, knowing all our ins and outs. Oh, look, this feeling means that, this feeling means that. This feeling is a feeling of survival, which I'm overcoming with a hit of this cigarette. How would Sally see that should she not focus on her life, but is too hard focused on the actual event that's happening, too busy judging herself, too busy trying to control the moment too much and being disappointed by it, instead of simply observing her body go through the motions, go through the feelings of what's happening and simply watching her own life as if it was a movie. Is that not like what a softer focus is, by looking at your own life as if it was a movie? Your own life as if it was a canvas that life casts its paint onto. Your body being the main background in which your consciousness gets thrown onto. Your experience being a movie. Is that not a more feeling of a soft focus? Just watching your own life like a movie. Oh, that feeling, a sensation, that temptation, part of the movie. Very interesting. Very interesting. You are not your thoughts, right? We want a soft focus on ourselves. We are not the things that our bodies are doing. They are happening within us. Different types of barriers, different types of turmoil, which we use different outward things to try to quell and try to satisfy. But should we be too hard focused on what's actually going down? Do we not stray further away from the actual problem that might actually be here to stay? But with a softer focus on oneself, are we not able to draw more into focus those feelings, those ideas? Are we not able to draw more into our awareness with a softer focus the intentionalities and the patterns for movement, the patterns for acceptance, and the patterns for denial in our own body? Why do we not have the energy to get out of bed? Are we too hard focusing on our experience to allow our body the freedom it needs to go to move to where it needs to go, to allow our bodies the space to provide itself with energy to get the day moving? What is it? Are we able to see that stronger with a hard focus, or is it easier to see that intentionality with a soft focus, as in pretending that there's a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out? And to leave your swallowing muscles alone as you do so. To observe yourself and to see if the reason why we haven't gotten out of bed, or if the reason why we're still hanging out, not going to work or school, is it because we are disallowing ourselves the energy to do so in some capacity? Is there pain, discomfort associated with the feelings of going out, with the feelings of going to work, with the feelings of talking to your mom, yourself? Are there feelings of discomfort associated with attempting to observe any of those things? And does a soft focus not grant you more insight onto what's actually going on? Are you upset that you have to get this thing for your mom? Or are you upset that she didn't respect your time about it? Are you happy about the fact that you got this piece of candy? Or are you happy with the fact that someone thought about you like that, and someone cared about you and held on to it for you? With a softer focus, we can see deeper the meaning, and as you know, humans react to meaning, not object. Again, humans react to meaning, not object. Say it with me. Humans react to meaning, not object. Say it with me. Humans react to meaning, not object. One more time, say it with me. Humans react to meaning, not object. And meaning is a lot more easy to see with a soft focus, especially on our bodies. Meaning is a lot easier to see in our own experience with soft focus. As in, your whole body is related to itself, right? Isn't your whole body related to itself? So how are you gonna examine each and every part of your body at the same time to get the whole holistic part of your body, right? We want to have a holistic experience, a wholesome experience, as in, not as in no kids, or not as in bring your kids, but a wholesome experience as in your whole body. Completely your whole body, so you can get a full breath, as your body needs its entirety to get the best breath it can, right? So using a softer focus, does it make more sense to establish more meaning? So you're acting meaning, not object. Does it make more sense to have a softer focus? As what is the meaning of any one part of your body? It doesn't just stop at the physical representation. The left eye is not just a left eye, but it has meaning. It's not just a fleshy, gooey thing that exists above your left collarbone. As we are stretching our self-awareness like a muscle, right? You can feel your body from the inside out, and how does that feel? As you assess the size of your own eyeballs in your own head, how does that feel? But your eyes, they don't just have this fleshiness, but they imply, like everything in your body, they have a meaning, right? And with a softer focus, zoom out and scope out a little bit, we can see that the eye is not just a fleshy thingy, but it actually also has vision. But then what's the meaning behind vision? Well, it allows you to see things in the future, or possibly in the future. If you're running forward, then it is in the future. It allows you to see things far into the future, or just very far. And what kind of meaning does that have for a human being? Well, it might orient your entire life. It might tell you to be afraid or to not be afraid. It might allow you to engage socially. It might allow you to engage with food in ways that you never would have been able to without eyeballs. Are eyeballs just this thing that grants you vision, or is there a lot more meaning behind it? When we soft focus on most things in our lives, we see that there's a lot more meaning there that's just waiting to be uncovered underneath our own skin, as we are pretending that there's a candle in front of our lips, trying to not put out, to leave your swallowing muscles alone, to allow your body the stillness in order to observe it. As most times when we observe our own body, doesn't our own body get unstill? Doesn't it get scared? Doesn't it get anxious as we focus on ourselves? What do you want to do in life? Don't we get anxious when we hard focus on ourselves? And so isn't that the same with our own body? When people tell you to relax, someone tells you, hey, take a deep breath, and you focus on the breath. Focus on that. You hard focus on that. How beneficial is that for your body's experience? Do we work better by hard focusing on the things that we don't like about ourselves? Or is there more potential for movement, increased movement through traumatic experiences, through discovery, instead of constantly hard focusing on ourselves to measure ourselves against any kind of performance? As you are hard focusing on yourself to understand super detail-oriented things, usually looking at measuring performance, but in our bodies, we notice that even the discovery of our body is a good thing itself. There's no wrong way to move the body, just ways that your body currently moves and ways that it can move one day. With soft focus, we look at our body and remind ourselves that there's no wrong move, there is no wrong way to move, simply the ways you currently can move and ways that you have potential to move. There's no wrong way to be moving. But to soft focus on our own experience, we're able to extract much meaning about ourselves in ways that we could not, simply because our bodies did not establish the nerve, did not establish the ability to sit calmly and to observe the self separate from the self. Because if you're observing yourself when you're anxious, guess what's observing that anxious version of yourself? An anxious version of yourself. So are you really anxious? Or are you just projecting your anxiety onto your situation because you are anxious? So should we have a way to establish nerve with ourselves, to be able to look at ourselves separate from ourselves, as in look at what our bodies are doing to our experience? When you experience a light that's out there that makes you squint your eyes, isn't that affecting your body on the inside? And if you soft focus, could you not get clearer and clearer on what muscles are being used, involuntarily or not, when you see that light? With a softer focus, are we able to establish larger meanings between what's going on in the outside world and how our body wants to go about it? As we're always seeming to be autopiloting on things that we don't want to do, right? We're always addicted to all these things that we always say that we want to quit. We always say that we want to get over, but we end up doing it anyway. Do people really change? The answer used to be generally no, because we were hard focusing on what was going on. People don't change. Look, he still did that thing again. Okay, but with a softer focus, we can see they did that thing, but now it's over the course of 2 years and not over the course of 2 days. You hard focus on the actual thing that went down and not the meaning behind it. You find yourself lost from actually trying to discover actionable and transferable knowledge and wisdom from one person to the next. As our lives are so friggin' short and we're trying to get the most out of it, right? There's got to be more to life, is what we're always thinking to ourselves. So should we soft focus on ourselves, would we not be able to discover that there's actual potential to change behavior patterns, to change patterns for movement, to change patterns for barriers, to change patterns for how you feel about yourself going through these motions? We're able to see much more about the quality and the choices and the experiences and what levels of consciousness that we were actually engaging with. What part of our body moved when we did that unfavorable thing like smoking a cigarette, for example? What part of our body twitched or moved at the thought of a cigarette? If we're always going straight to the cigarette, will we ever be able to see what's going on in our body that encourages that? What kind of movement happened in the body? Are we able to pretend that there's a candle in front of the lips that you're trying to not put out and leave your swallowing muscles alone? To ground ourselves, to allow ourselves to see ourselves with a softer focus, not just compassionately, but also literally a softer focus, in that the focus is not so hard on what's actually happening, but softer, scoped out, looking at the actual larger picture of your body, as your body's the largest picture, right? From the inside out, when you think about your body's the largest picture. what's going on in your kinesthetic experience right now in that body of yours as you allow these words to go in one ear and out the other, that's the largest experience to you, right? You can feel it from the inside out. It's 3D experience, your body, right? So that's the largest picture. So when we're talking about, oh, they don't change, they can't change, people don't change, is it because we were too busy looking at the small picture? As in, the human experience can look at the movement that it has when it thinks about a cigarette, the choice that it makes, what level of experience it was, what level of consciousness was being affected. Was it their emotional? Was it their feelings of survival? Was it their feelings of logic and reasoning? Or was it their feelings of emotion? And when I say feelings, I mean bodily kinesthetic feelings, not like emotions, but, you know, was the action in question more on the consciousness level of a physical touch, or was it more on the consciousness level of emotions that are either pleasurable or unpleasurable? Or was it on the level of consciousness that's more about flight or fight? Survival? Was it a much more high-stakes situation? Where a lot of social situations can feel like high-stakes survival situations. You could sit in a survival situation and observe the sense of self, use a soft focus on the self, and say, hey, why is it that when I'm in this social situation, my heart's beating, my eyes are racing, and I'm getting thoughts that are very related to survival? They're very high stakes. Why is it that when I'm in this social situation, my eyes, my shoulders, my head, all, when I soft focus on them, why is it that I get feelings that are so highly related to the feelings of survival? And then that's not right, and you can fix that with logic. Why do I feel that way? You know, you'd be like, oh, there's a survival feeling related to this social situation, which can be corrected with logic. There is no survival issue with this social situation. Although it might be hard to believe at first, perhaps the reason why we could never integrate that answer, as we've heard that our whole lives, right? Just be yourself. It's just a social gathering, it's just a party. Yet it can feel like life or death. And it feels like we could never change that. Why? Maybe because we were looking at it as it feels like life or death, and we weren't looking at that as being something we could alter. Something that could valuably be changed. Why? Because even though we were told the answer, we never could completely formulate the question, as we were always too busy trying to already remove ourselves from the discomfort instead of observing the discomfort, observing the question. Why do I feel this way? Impossible to feel without soft focus. Impossible to know why you feel like a social party might be life or death to your body without soft focus. Why? Because the hard focus is what you're looking at already. How could you know what was causing the anxiety if you're simply always looking at the anxiety? A softer focus allows for potential for more movement, for more grace, more potential to be yourself in life. A softer focus. A softer focus, without which you would not be able to understand why you see that social situation as life or death. You would not be able to examine yourself long enough to understand yourself, to know why your heart's beating like that. With a softer focus, you can. With a softer focus, you can separate yourself from what's going on within you and be able to look at what's going on within you objectively. Separate yourself with a softer focus. Submitting to this idea of a softer focus. Not submitting like, you must submit, but as in just gracing into it, sliding into it, you know? Slide into this idea of soft focus. Slide into this idea of a soft focus. As we pretend that there's a candle in front of the lips that you're trying to not put out. And don't think about breathing in or out. Allow your eyes to soft focus, glaze over, if you will. As you reduce tension from focusing on this forward-facing sense, doesn't your senses go more towards your center and are able to feel a more grounded, more well-rounded experience of all of your senses together in this kinesthetic body experience as you allow your eyes to glaze over and leave your swallowing muscles alone? Aren't you shifting your attention inwardly now as you're pretending that there's a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out? and to leave your swallowing muscles alone. As you focus inwardly and allowing your focus to soften, to include the feelings of your entire body, instead of hard focusing on any particular part like your eyes. Could we potentially see more about why we feel like this situation is a life and death situation for our body's experience, even though we know it's not? Maybe we always knew it's not, but the reason why we never could feel and consolidate it into it is because we never could really allow our bodies to fully ask the question. No wonder we're so afraid that it feels like death, because we have questions about it. We have questions. We have all these questions that we feel like we can't have answered. As in, we don't even know why it feels like this on our inside. We haven't allowed ourselves the stillness, the soft focus to understand why we feel this way. If we never asked ourselves that question, if we never asked ourselves that question of why we even feel this way, how could we hope to even change it without some kind of soft focus to allow us to see why we feel that way? And when it comes to changing, we simply need to notice but don't change. Remember, like we said, we already know that a social situation is not life or death. We already know that, but our bodies feel that way, right? Our bodies get all anxious, they get all tense. But we already know the answer. They're not gonna, most likely this social gathering, they're not going to start slapping you across the face for a funny sound you make. We know that these social scenarios are not life or death, but they kind of feel like life or death sometimes on the inside, right? So we already know the answer is not that it's gonna kill us, but simply being able to notice finally the actual question. It's like a reversal actually allows you to change. Don't need to try to change, as that would be hard focusing again, right? You'd be trying to focus too much on this idea of change, but your entire body is already so capable in and of itself, all on its own, this gigantic human body experience of yours, should you allow it the freedom to do what it needs to do. And how do you allow it the freedom to do what it needs to do? To soft focus on your own body, to address where the barriers are. Why do I feel like this is life and death? It's not, but maybe it feels like life and death because you yourself in your own body have never allowed yourself to ask it. So your body and your soul and the world that you've created has never allowed itself to answer your question and say, no, it's not life or death. But because we could never soft focus on our own bodies, our own intentions, our own needs enough to ask ourselves, to ask, what is this? To ask, is this life or death? Well, the world would never be able to answer, no, it's not life or death. So we spend our whole lives being anxious about this question because we never allow ourselves to ask it. As we never allow ourselves to soft focus, to completely confront our own needs and desires. Right? As we are seeing more about ourselves with this soft focus, this soft focus, this soft focus. And going along in line with the theme that we've been having with this idea of noticing but not changing, in this soft focus. This soft focus to allow ourselves to view ourselves, our whole body at once, instead of hard focusing on something like the eyeballs, to allow ourselves to get more information sometimes that we wouldn't get without a soft focus. And to go along with our soft feeling. We want to notice the barriers and the restrictions in our lives, but not change them, as that would be hard focusing again, right? Your whole body is already entirely capable on its own, your whole amazing body. So we just gotta let it do what it has to do by soft focusing on You godlike experience, you! Thank you for joining another Mover Monday on August 9th, 2021. Monday, August 9th, 2021. We are going through this year like that, like butter. It's so fast. Can you believe how fast it's been? Started 2021. Thank you for joining for another episode of Go On Mover Monday, where we discuss soft focus part 2. We want to let your whole body do what it do by soft focusing and bringing that whole thing entirely into view. Feeling so good from the inside out. Better than your morning would feel without. My name is Herbie. We'll see you tomorrow on Go On. Have a great day. Feel the front of your shins. Pretend that there's a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out, and to leave your swallowing muscles alone, and to observe your sense of self. And we'll see you tomorrow, guys. I love you guys. Take it easy. Hope you're feeling great in that godlike body of yours.